Hello, everybody. This is Parrish Alford with the Daily Journal. I'm joined by Gabe Bock. He covers Texas A&M in all phases, all sports for TexAgs.com, and also hosts the TexAgs radio show there in College Station. Gabe, how are you, man?
Parrish, I could not be better. Talking to you, it's going to be one of the highlights of my week, man. So there's not much better I could be doing right now. This is outstanding. Really, really looking forward to the end. I wish I was in Oxford because I love Oxford as a city. Wish I was there. Have not been to your baseball stadium yet. I've been to the Grove twice. You know, it rained both times we were at the Grove. Remember, we're the ones who did the feature there with Shelby Herring on Texas. We definitely had our fair share of good times at the Grove. We've been to football twice. At ball, but I'm looking forward to this weekend. It should be a good one.
Well, you've seen the Grove then. I wanted to ask you, man, before we get into a little football talk, we got to talk football first, or we run the risk of having our credentials pulled as SEC media. You know, if we don't talk football first, and then we'll come back and talk about this series. But you know, I was there at Bluebell Park. I think it was the first year for it in 2012, and A&M hosted the regional there. Ole Miss was a part of that. And one of the highlights of that 5 days there in College Station was the freezers of Bluebell ice cream in the media work area. And with this Bluebell recall going on, man, I got to know what's going on with those freezers there at Bluebell Park.
Well, it's been pretty sad, I'll tell you. And I thought there for a minute on Saturday, you tweeted at me, asked me where it was in the freezers now that they have recalled all the that's the best thing. When you came, that was I want to say the first year of Bluebell Park, Bluebell Park and post renovation. It was a free for all, wasn't it? You and Hugh Kellerman and all these, everybody had, and Ole Miss people enjoyed the free ice cream from Bluebell. That was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed that for a couple of years. But guess what happened with this recall? It's in there right now. Now on Saturday when you texted me, because remember that was you guys had a barn there. Right? Came back from way down, Ole Miss from way down, the game in the ninth and won it in the end. What an unbelievable thing here. The games were decided on 2 runs Saturday. You tweeted at me. I said, listen, I think they filled it up.
Gabe, we seem to be having a little connection issue here right now, a little drag on your internet. Are you hearing me okay, seeing me okay?
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of tough time hearing you as well. And I don't know if that's on my end or your end, Parrish, but we can try to figure that out.
Okay, well, I tell you what, you're sounding a whole lot better right now. Not seeing the video part yet, but give me a test there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let me hear your audio again.
All right, test. Am I any better, Parrish, or are we still struggling here?
Yeah, your audio is a lot better. Maybe the video will come back to us there. It's trying. It's trying there. Let's go ahead and let's just talk.
I'll eliminate any other programs here just to make sure that we're in good shape. I just got off the air, and it seems like everything's good to go on my end. I'm showing full bars.
We're getting better there on your.
All right, good. Outstanding.
Okay. All right, that's better there. Yeah,
I'll cut it all off.
Okay. Yeah, that's better there. Talking about that Bluebell ice cream, that was a highlight. But let's talk a little Texas A&M football first. Gabe, tell me about spring. What did these guys want to accomplish defensively with their first go-round with John Chavis there as coordinator?
Yeah, familiarity. It's going to still be a 4-3, but not all 4-3 equal. It's a completely different type of defense. It's with Mark Snyder, it was read and react. It was 2-gap stuff, things like guys had to – there were a lot of things going on the field. If you pay close attention, you'd realize that A&M was misaligned, playing with younger players, and a lot of times they'd still be trying to line play, trying to figure out the play at the snap. Well, you can't play football, especially aggressive defensive football, when you're thinking – as much as Mark, look, it was a disaster in 2013. Worse in 2014. You know why? They didn't have a guy named Johnny Football guiding the way offensively. I truly believe if A&M had to 2013, maybe they beat Alabama and beat Auburn, and now you're looking team. They did lose DeMontre Moore. But I'll go the other half to DeMontre Moore. Had they not had Johnny Football in 2013, that might be a 5 to 6 win team. And the fact that they won 9 shows you truly how great Johnny Manziel was. I thought he really displayed how great he was in 2013, even as much as he did his first year on the scene in 2014. What Chavis is doing now, one gap, aggressive, press man corners. Now, they have no corners, so that's a big issue. They're trying to develop that. Everybody was hurt at linebacker, all kinds of shoulder injuries, all kinds of stuff like that. No depth right now at linebacker, but there are young, talented, elite-level athletes. They've just got to get field, and hopefully by August everybody's healthy. That's what the spring's about, is coming out of there healthy. So the problem is Chavis became the linebacker coordinator, and all of his linebackers were hurt. He had 1 or 2 guys that made it throughout the spring. Their names were Richard Moore, who's a first semester early entry out of Cedar Hill High School. He's a freshman. And then the JUCO transfer, Claude George, originally from Louisiana, but out of the Kansas circuit in junior college. So these are guys whose head were spinning anyway, first semester players, and that's the only 2 scholarship linebackers he had. Now, I really like A&M safeties, that Justin Evans kid out of East Mississippi, or one of those junior college of the Mississippi circuit. He's like an NFL player. And some of the coaches told me Justin Evans was A&M's best defensive player during the spring. Now, stop for a second and realize that they also have a guy named Myles Garrett who's pretty dang good. He's really good. Justin Evans is really good, and he paired with Armani Watts. I like the safety situation. Defensive line is going to be a very point of strength for A&M. It's going to be a big point of strength because with Myles Garrett on one side, they really like Deshaun Hall, and Julian Obioha has been around the block. So I like their ends a lot. I think good things are happening. They're going to play a lot more aggressive football under Chief, no doubt about that.
Well, take us back to A&M a little bit before the SEC. A lot of us don't know a whole lot about A&M before the last couple of years, and there was a transition there with Kevin Sumlin. I believe this school had a better defensive history than it's shown during its time in the conference. What was it like pre-Sumlin, and is this partly a function of so much emphasis on offense and less attention, perhaps until now, defensively?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think whenever R.C. Slocum got let go, Slocum, the defensive coordinator, late 70s, all the way to 19 was his first year, all the way through his time as head coach, A&M consistently had great defense. It became linebacker youth. They put all these linebackers in the NFL. They had guys like Dat Wynn and Corey Buckley, and the list goes on and on. These incredible All-American linebackers. They're running the 3-4 wherever with the New Orleans Saints for a spinal injury, and they had a bunch of great players defensively. Well, in R.C. Slocum's time as a defensive coordinator and a head coach, he never had a defense outside of the top. I think a couple of times he had a defense ranked in the 40s. Well, let's switch that the other way around. Since R.C. Slocum left after the 2002 season, A&M has had one defense ranked in the 40s, and never any defense of 4. Dennis Franchione, when they went 4-8 under Fran 2003, and from that forward, A&M just did not put together a good defense. 06 had a little semblance of success in 06. Then it went south. 07, 08 was a disaster. 09 was a disaster. 2010, you got a guy named Von Miller. You got a really elite inside linebacker that was not – he was a very good athlete. He came on late. He was in his early 20s, and not a lot of people remember how great he was, but his name was Michael Hodges. He helped a lot too. A couple of NFL guys on the back end, defensive line. 2010, they had a run of success. They got a ranking mark in terms of ranking, but the Fran era was a disaster. The Sherman era, they built a lot of talent offensively. Obviously, that O-line was outstanding, and Sherman could identify great players on the offensive line, but the defense was Kevin Sumlin's come in. They've tried to retool that. It's taken some time. I think getting John Chase moved, and it's going to pay off in big ways. They're committing to great defensive players. You don't let all Armani Watts, Nick Harvey, these elite athletes, without putting a lot of effort and emphasis on. They're going to try to do that while playing as fast as they can play out of the spread on the offensive side of the ball. So the offense is going to be there. They've got to figure out the defense, but they are making it a significant emphasis.
All right, let's shift to baseball a little bit, Gabe. Tell me about the Aggies. I know they were in the conversation for a national seed. I know that's still a goal for them. What about the South Carolina series? Was that a shock to most people around there in College Station?
I don't think so. Let me plug my computer in real quick while I talk to you. I'm about to run out of juice.
Okay.
All right, I plugged my computer in there, Parrish. I just got finished with a 3-hour radio show, so I knew I was getting real close. I don't think it was a huge shock. A&M they lost the Arkansas series, and that could have gone either way. And as you know, in this league, and weather's played a significant factor in a lot of teams in their schedule, and that played a significant factor. A&M, game 2 of the Arkansas series, Nick Banks hits a grand slam, and then the weather comes. The rain comes. A&M's up by about, I want to say 5, and it was just after the 6th inning, start of the 7th inning. That gets delayed to the next day. What does that do? It allows Arkansas to sleep on it, and they got hot, and A&M did not come to the ballpark ready to play, give up about a 4 spot in the 7th inning, give up the lead in the 8th, and lose that baseball game. Then you got to come right around and play game 3, lost that game, and it wasn't close. And there was a factor there, too, a long rain delay in the 1st inning where A&M starting pitcher goes out there for about 10 pitches, and then sits for an hour and a half and then has to come back and got rocked. That was Matt Kent. So they lose that series, go to LSU, played great. I mean, you guys saw it. You know what's going on. A&M and LSU, that was a series for the ages and could have gone either way. Either one of those teams could have swept. A&M, a play here, play there, call here, call there. I was in Baton Rouge for that, and A&M wins that series. I mean, it could have gone either way, and that clearly looked like a battle of 2 of the top 5 teams in the country, which I still think they are. And then A&M goes on the road to Tennessee and has a great weekend. But the pitching's starting to wane, and this team has always this year, they made a commitment, we're going to get these bats in the lineup. And when you do that, you give up defense for offense. And we kept saying, look, A&M, when they were 24-0, they've been winning games because they're sacrificing defense for offense and they're hitting their way to victory. But the pitching was good then. The pitching was as good as the hitting, and you can win a national championship if you're really good in 2 phases of the game, but not if you're only good in 1 phase of the game. And right now the pitching's waning because the starters are not getting in, they're not going long enough into games. The bullpen's been taxed. Rob Childress, the head coach, will consistently tell, who's also the pitching coach, will consistently tell you it's not a fatigue issue with this team. They're just not sharp right now as a pitching staff, and he's got to coach them out of it. I've been maintaining that they are worn out as a bullpen because they're having to come in sometimes in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd inning, and that's going to tax a bullpen. With 11.7 scholarships, you don't have enough players to have the kind of depth where you can consistently bring in your pen in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th inning and expect to do that throughout most of the season. And so even Grayson Long, he's more of a Sunday guy, but when you lose Tyler Stubblefield, who's a Friday guy, when you lose A.J. Minner, who looks like a first-rounder, both of them left-handed, eventually it's going to catch up to you. I do believe the loss of those 2 pitchers and A&M being in the position where they are at, 42-9, is why, in my opinion, objectively speaking, Rob Childress is the National Coach of the Year. How many guys can lose your Friday and Saturday? How many teams can lose your Friday and Saturday guy, be 42-9, and probably go into the last weekend of the season, be it a road game against a team that's streaking, but you win a series in Oxford, and you're a top 8 seed. You can punch your ticket. Lose the series in Oxford, and A&M's going to have some work cut out for them in Hoover. They're not coming back home. They're just going to keep carrying on west. And they're going to have some work cut out for them. They're going to have to win a game or 2 to lock up a top 8 seed. It's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination. But win a series this weekend, win 2 games. It won't be easy, and A&M will be a top 8 seed, and their goals will be right there in front of them.
Well, you mentioned that A&M pitching right now. Ole Miss is showing a little bit of that fatigue as well, that they've pitched it well enough to win, but the last couple of weekends, Brady Bramlett, their number 2 starter, has gotten hit harder and given up more runs than he has in most starts this season. Scott Weathersby is the latest experiment in the number 3 starters role there for Ole Miss, and he's been honestly their most dominant pitcher of the year until this past Saturday against Mississippi State. So there are a little bit of question marks there among their starting pitching as well, and they're not quite that deep in the bullpen. I did see some Rob Childress comments after the South Carolina series talking about pitching and defense. He was very concerned with how A&M performed in those areas against South Carolina. Yeah, what do you make of the mindset of this team coming to Oxford? Surely they know what's on the line in terms of a possible national seed, as you touched on. Is this a team that arrives at Ole Miss with enthusiasm and confidence, or are they a little shell shocked right now?
I think they'll arrive with confidence. Now they better, because top 8 seeds don't lose for the last 5 series and expect to stay as top 8 seeds. Now A&M was the number 2 RPI team in the country going into South Carolina. To further answer your previous question, South Carolina was a top 10 team to start the year. They just haven't played like it. They played like it over the weekend. They made 0 errors, and A&M walked 17 and made 6 errors, and had about their mid. You and I both would say, I'm gonna mark that in a highlighter, even though they're not putting it in as an error on the board. South Carolina played unbelievable, made every play defensively, and A&M played well enough to win that series anyway. Lost a game by 2, lost a game by 1. But if you go back and look at the box scores, about every time South Carolina put up a crooked number, A&M's offense responded. A&M hit 10 home runs over the weekend. It was a hitter's weekend from 6:35 on Friday night all the way through the last out on Sunday. Wind ripping out at 25 miles an hour to all fields. Craziest thing. Most of the time you see it and it's ripping out to one side of the field or another, one pole, but it was not this way. I mean, if you're a left-handed hitter, you jack it up in the air and it's going to jet stream out of here. It was a high and significant wind, about 20 to 25 miles an hour, and South Carolina took advantage of that. A&M's hitters took advantage of it too and responded. So I, by no stretch of the imagination, feel like this team has quit, because if you're down 6-0 on Saturday, you don't figure out a way to get back in that game, muddy it up, and then win it in the 9th inning. You don't do that if you've laid down and quit. If it's a Sunday game and A&M got themselves down 7-2, and lo and behold, it was 8-2, I think it was, and they lost that game 8-7. But had they laid down, that thing would have been a blowout. They got a pitcher in Andrew Vincent in there that went 11 up and 11 down, gave them a hold, gave them a feel like they can come back and win that game, and A&M responded to almost every crooked number that South Carolina put up. This team has been like that all season long. A lot of teams, I think, even A&M teams in the recent history, especially the team that you saw the first time you came to Blue Bell in 2012, I don't know how you lose at home in a regional with Michael Waka and Ross Stripling and co-aces the way they did. That was an epic failure in 2012 to not get out of your own regional with 2 aces and 2 of the probably the 2 best pitchers of the Rob Childress era. Well, this team is different. I don't sense the fragility with this team. Maybe Ole Miss is just playing better baseball and will win a series, and it being at home. And they're kind of feeling that mojo right now coming off that rivalry series sweep against Mississippi State. 3 games that could have gone all 3, different way. Hey, Ole Miss could have lost that series, could have gotten swept in that series, but found a way to get it done. A&M has to figure out a way to get it done this weekend, but I don't see a team that's going to lay down. I see a team it's going to be a heck of a battle. One team playing really well, one team that's now trying to figure out how high they can play into, and heck, Ole Miss is streaking right now, so who knows what's going to happen down the stretch. Auburn's definitely lost a chance to host. Arkansas has lost a chance to host. Who knows? I don't think Ole Miss is going to host. We didn't know if they were going to get in. But when you're streaking, who knows what's going to happen? Probably a solid 2 right now. But with A&M, they've got to figure out a way to tie this up, because the Aggies, they don't have any excuse to go all the way. It's been 1999 since A&M's been a top 8 seed. 1999, with a great ballpark, with this fan base, perfectly situated for recruiting. To me, it's got to be better than that. And the way you get to Omaha is host games, play in front of 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people that are yelling at you and suffocating the opponents. A&M's got to find a way to continue that belief, but not kick the ball around, to get outs on the mound, figure out a way, especially with that starting pitching, take some pressure off of that bullpen and get 2 wins this weekend. Because if they do, they'll be in pretty good position, can set everything up in the SEC tournament for regional play.
Well, tell us a little bit about this A&M offense. You said that they responded to the crooked numbers South Carolina put up. Who are some players that Ole Miss fans need to watch for this weekend?
Well, I'm the president of the Blake Allamon fan club. I'll just tell you that, because the guy plays the game really hard. You know, A&M's in a weird situation because they don't have an Errol Robinson or somebody like that. They don't have a real shortstop on this entire roster. In fact, Blake Allamon's a natural second baseman and a really good second baseman. But they're playing a second baseman at shortstop. They're playing a first baseman at third base. They're playing a third baseman at first, but and they're playing a second baseman who can't field real well. And it's a third baseman's playing left. So you got guys all over the place. And one of A&M's best defensive players is their catcher. Well, he got banged up on a bang-bang play at the plate. It was a pass ball, and he picked up the ball, was diving at home plate, and got in a collision with a runner streaking home and sliding into home plate. He was safe, but that's Michael Barish, who started his career at LSU, went to junior college, and now is at A&M, and he's been one of the best defensive catchers in college baseball in the SEC. Michael Barish, I don't know his status right now. He did not play. Rob's not really talking about it. They're calling it precautionary, but we'll see how much Michael Barish goes in this, and he's A&M's lone. Well, he and Nick Banks are A&M's real plus defensive players out there. They're giving up a lot defensively, but they're doing that because of the bats. Blake Allamon at the top of the order. In my opinion, Blake Allamon's A&M's MVP, all right? Blake Allamon is the only guy on the team that could even come close to fielding an average shortstop position. Now, he makes mistakes, but he also makes big plays. He's an effort guy. I love him at short, but he's also the only guy on this roster that can really lead off. They don't have a natural leadoff hitter besides him, and they don't have a shortstop really including him, but I think he's done a remarkable job. So I like him at the one hole. Ryan Burke, when he's on, he's squaring up a lot of balls, and right now he's on. He hit 2 home runs in his last 2 at-bats in that Saturday game that A&M came back and won 15-14 after being down, I want to say 6-0. So Ryan Burke at the 2-hole. Mitchell Now's had a great year. To be honest with you, I didn't believe in Mitchell Now coming into this year. He was fat and overweight like you and me, Parrish. No, I'm just kidding. Like me, I'll say. But what happened was, you know, people are giving him so much credit, Mitchell Now, for this great senior year and getting his body in such good shape when he went up to Alaska. What happened was he found a girlfriend who was real good looking, and he didn't want to lose her. So he knew he had to lose about 25 pounds. So he lost the 25 pounds, and all of a sudden it's really paid off for him as a baseball player because he's had a fantastic year. He's hitting about 380. You know, Logan Taylor's a Golden Spikes Award finalist or semifinalist. He's in the top 30. He's had a great year at the 4-hole. Nick Banks is a player. Nick Banks is A&M's pro. He's a guy I think will play in the big leagues. He's a right fielder with a big arm. He's hitting in the 5-hole, but he's been struggling a little bit, and they got to get him right, a left-handed hitter. Logan Knottybrook is a guy where when he's on, he's pretty special. All right, but when he's off, you just got to sit him down. And he sat for like months on end in each of the last 2 seasons. He took a 6-week break last year and hit about 8 bombs. He took a 6-week break this year because he was so off. They were playing Ronnie Gideon at third base, and he still got 6 home runs, and he homered on Saturday, and he homered on Sunday. Last year, Logan Knottybrook is one of the hottest players in the SEC in the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. That's carrying over again this year. Knottybrook is very hot. He's red hot. And it makes the lineup so long as a pitcher for the opponent. When you look down, you're like, finally, I can take a break. And you got a guy that in his last few weeks is hitting about 400 with several home runs and is very hot. He's red hot down near the bottom of the order. So it's creating a lot of length and a lot of depth in this lineup. It's a situation where it's hard to come up for air, to be honest with you. But right now, that's the good. The bad is that's the one phase getting it done right now is Will Bolt's offense. The pitching's not getting it done, nor is the defense.
Gabe, good stuff, man. Thanks for being with us. Wish you could come over and bring some of those Freebirds burritos. Always enjoy visiting there.
And unlimited options like you guys have, but we all love it here. Next time you make your way here, Paris, let's make it happen, man. Freebirds on me. Freebirds for everybody, Oxford.
Well, that sounds good, man. Lots of good stuff there. Hey, thanks for being with us, man. We'll catch up with you later.
After that first Freebird, the rest is on Paris, by the way. So.
Well, you know, the first Freebird will fill you up.
Oh, yeah. It only takes one. There's no doubt about that, Parrish.
That's right. Thanks a lot.
All right, take care.